So a question I see coined around a lot is who would win in a fight, a samurai or a knight? And the answer is almost always biased towards knights because they have stronger armor, which is historically true. They do have stronger armor. However, that armor is heavier. So we're going to be looking at differences and who would realistically win in a fight between a knight and a samurai. So let's start simply. Let's start with their origins. Originally, knights were mounted shock troops, so they would ram into enemy lines. However, opposite of that, originally samurai were not shock troops. They were cavalry archers primarily. And they had this large bow called a Yumi bow, and its grip, instead of being in the middle, it's on the lower limb to make it easier to use on horseback. So, and a Yumi bow could have a draw weight of up to 140 pounds. Which could very well easily pierce plate armor of knights, because at the time, in the eras where these two forces could fight against each other, knights were still in a feudal society, as well as the samurai. So knights and plate armor was expensive. So generally, whatever armor a knight would bring to a battle would be generally of a lower quality than a very rich knight. So so this also brings into question who would win in archery. Samurai would win in archery because that's their origins. They are better archers. However, in a melee fight, knights do have the advantage. And in cavalry, it's basically who can get the shot off first. A samurai on a horse would try to avoid the knight, while the knight would be trying to catch the samurai. So it's anyone's game. So it's basically a tie.